How's it going, guys and dolls? Axel Williams here with another video. And today, guys, we're going to be talking about Cartoon Network. If you're an early 2000s kid, you know how spoiled you were with TV. You know how spoiled you were with TV. You had Boomerang, Challenge, Cartoon Network. I mean, honestly, Cartoon Network's obviously only recently been, obviously stripped down, taken down. But how lucky were we? We had so many great shows in the early 2000s, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. But guys, early 2000s kids and Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network, Jesus Christ, how good was Cartoon Network? I mean, fuck. It was the bomb, weren't it? And only, like I said, only early 2000s kids will understand how good Cartoon Network used to be. You had cartoons like Robot Boy. Do you remember Dexter's Laboratory, Ed, Edd and Eddy, the Cramp Twins, Courage the Cowardly Dog, the Powerpuff Girls, and I used to love that. But the Cartoon Network was thriving in the early 2000s. Like I said, if you're an early 2000s kid, you would have been watching, you'd be sitting here and listening to this video thinking, you are spot on, Axel. You're not talking like a twat for once. You're spot on. But we were so spoiled when we were kids. I grew up, watching all this stuff in the early 2000s. You had Challenge as well, where you had Takeshi's Castle with Craig Charles. Kids' TV back then was absolutely fantastic. I mean, the quality of it, the quality of the cartoons and TV shows you used to watch back in the early 2000s, people of today, kids of today, will never understand. I flicked on Cartoon Network just before it shut down. Just to see what kind of cartoons they were showing now, and it's shit. Honestly, it's shit. You look at the cartoons, like I said back in the day, they were fantastic. Now you've got, obviously, I'll say you've got stuff I've never heard of. I'm not gonna have heard of it today, am I? Because I don't watch it anymore. But the quality of the shows just isn't the same. Back even before Cartoon Network, just before it shut down. And that was a sad shame, but, Cartoon Network wasn't the same as it was. But like I said, back in the day, you used to get so many great shows, and now there seems to be so many just shows, if you know what I mean, just basic kids shows. But back in the day, it was so good. It was quality shows, quality after quality show. Ed, Edd and Eddy. I used to love Ed, Edd and Eddy. I used to love the voice acting. I think the episodes were written really well as well. But like I said, Dexter's Laboratory was that was ace as well. And those two for me, I used to literally watch religiously on Cartoon Network. Sorry. Some pervert at the door asking me if I wanted to get naked for £20. I said no. But Cartoon Network was a great thing, wasn't it? I wonder what one of the reasons were for Cartoon Network actually ending. Was it financial reasons? I mean, the cartoons definitely got worse. Was that a reason? Did Cartoon Network just get gradually worse and worse to the point where it just ended? I can understand why the cartoons have changed, quite recently why they did change recently on Cartoon Network before it ended. And why they might have got worse, because obviously things are different now. Back then, things weren't so, the world wasn't so silly, was it? Everything's got to be PC now. Maybe they toned everything down. The cartoons weren't as funny because of that. I'm not sure, but what a legacy it's left behind. What a legacy Cartoon Network has left behind. And like I said, when you're an early 2000s kid, you get to this point now. When I was, obviously back then I don't know how old I was, maybe 12, 13, but now, I'm 31 years old. I know I don't look at you, you don't have to say it. But I'm 31 now, and I'm not going to lie. I look back at Cartoon Network. I look back at how things used to be in the early 2000s compared to now. Not even just cartoons, just the way the world is. And obviously, like I said, if you're from that era of the early 2000s, you'll probably agree. Things are so different now. TV's different now. People are just a bit more scared to say things. Cartoons back in the day, there was no holds bars in terms of cartoons back in the day. It really was no holds bar, and but right now that won't be the case when you're watching cartoons. Everything will be very, very safe. We can't offend parents, kind of thing. I could just imagine what it's like now. We have to make sure that parents are fully happy with their kids watching our cartoons. We can't have any crap in this show. We can't say anything out of turn because the parents are going to write some kind of complaint or whatnot. You know what I mean? Whereas back then, I feel like parents, the world, forget parents actually, the world was just not as PC. The world wasn't as daft as it is today. Things were, you could let a lot more slide back then. And cartoons back then, it's only when you look back actually that you kind of realise just how much cartoons have changed, because they let so much go. Back in the day, there were so many rude, crude innuendos back in the day in cartoons. You'd never get away with that now. But yes, guys, give me your thoughts. You might disagree. There's definitely cartoons out there today that are good. I'm not saying there's not. But what I'm saying is back in the day, you had so many great cartoons. Even Cow and Chicken. you know, people of the early 2000s, people who grew up in the early 2000s watching these cartoons will remember and know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, but has it changed? It definitely has changed for the worse. Cartoons back then, TV back then for kids was just so much better than it is now. In my view, it was so much better and more entertaining than it's ever been, to be honest with you. I mean, you could argue that. It was fantastic. In the early 2000s, it was fantastic. And cartoons back then, honestly, they made kids' childhood so good. Honestly, they really did. They made my young life so fun because, you know, cartoons, there was so much on. And you could just laugh all day long. It was fantastic. But guys, give me your thoughts on cartoons back then. The early 2000s and how good Cartoon Network was. I mean, come on, we've got to get those comments. And Cartoon Network was absolutely fantastic, wasn't it? So many great cartoons, so many great shows at that time on Cartoon Network, you know. It was fantastic. Like I said, I've gone through all of them really, haven't I? Tramp Twins, Dexter's Laboratory, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ben 10, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Ed, Edd and Eddy, the Powerpuff Girls. I mean, you had such a variety and it was fantastic. It was awesome to be a kid then. It really was. It was awesome to be a kid in that time. God, I want to go back there. Flipping out. But, you know, life moves on and time moves on, and cartoons have definitely moved on. Guys, give me your thoughts, cartoons then and now. Cartoon Network, your take on it. Obviously, I'd imagine most of the comments, if I get many comments, is going to be from people who were kids around the early 2000s who know exactly what I'm talking about with these cartoons and how good Cartoon Network was. But there's definitely going to be people who are going to potentially have their pennies worth and say, no, cartoons today are actually pretty good, you should watch them. To which case, you know, it's all a game of opinions and I accept. Guys and dolls, thanks ever so much for watching another video though. It's been a pleasure bringing it to you. Hope you have a fantastic day. I will see you soon for another video very, very soon. But guys, until then, it's over and out from Axel Williams. I will see you again very, very soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. I almost forgot that bit. Yes, guys. I will see you soon. Take care of yourself and each other. And it's over and out from me.